Hi, everyone, and welcome to another Zeffy webinar session. Thank you so much for joining us today. We are going to dive right in. We have a lot of content to get to. Do let us know where you're dialing in from today across the US or Canada or somewhere else. We're really happy to have you on the line. I'm Julia from Zeffy, and today we are talking all about newsletters. This is the third part of our four-part series about newsletters, and we're talking all about how to send simple Zeffy emails that raise more. And so the goal for the next hour is simple. You'll know how to send 4 simple emails with Zeffy and have an easy way to turn your email habit into a rhythm so your supporters know to look out for you. So by the end of today, like I mentioned, we're going to cover these 4 simple Zeffy emails, and you'll know how to turn them into a rhythm and a habit. So the first we're going to cover is the update email. Then we're going to cover a volunteer ask, then an event email, and then finally an urgent fundraising ask. Quick bit of housekeeping before we dive in. We have 60 minutes with you. This is a live walkthrough, so feel free to send us your questions throughout the session. And please use the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen for your questions. It helps us organize and get to them. And as always, you'll get the recording right after the session. We try and send it out day of, so look out for it if you have to drop off. Before we introduce our speaker today, I want to get a quick read on the room. So if you could drop in the chat for me, what's an email that you need to send out this week or maybe early next week? Something you've got teed up and you know you need to send out, but you haven't yet. There's really no wrong answer here. This could be a thank you. This could be an update, an event reminder, a newsletter, an ask. Just let us know in the chat. We're curious, and this helps us spend a little bit more time on where it might be useful. Great. Yeah. Newsletter, upcoming events. Perfect. Thank you. And with that, I'm really excited to introduce our speaker today, Vicki Couch, who is the intake coordinator and VP of operations at the Midwest Labrador Retriever Rescue. And Vicki, thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Great. And yeah, before we dive into the content, could you tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and Midwest Labrador Retriever Rescue and your work there?
Sure. My background is actually in sales in the logistics industry, and I've been volunteering in the rescue world since 2021. I've been here with Midwest Labs since 2 years this summer, actually. Our focus is saving Labrador retrievers from either shelters, owner surrenders, strays, kind of anywhere that dogs are in need. So we get dogs from all over the Midwest, Texas, the Southeast, sometimes locally as well. It just kind of depends where there's a need and where we have a foster that can help that dog.
Great, thank you. And how did you come across Zeffy and how are you using the platform today? Just as a bit of background for folks.
Sure. Actually, one of our board members, her daughter has a nonprofit as well, and they use Zeffy. And we had just been using PayPal, which of course, collects their fees. So for all of our adoption fees, anytime someone donated on our website, PayPal was taking a chunk. So when her daughter had recommended Zeffy, I looked into it right away and I'm like, okay, this is great for the fundraising, but there's so much more that Zeffy could do for us. So we implemented Zeffy pretty quickly after the demo. I would say probably within a month we were up with fundraising and with fees. And then we quickly explored the rest of the platform and made other changes as well.
Great. And for the email tool specifically, you came from JotForm. Can you tell us just a little bit about that switch and yeah, your adoption of the email platform thus far?
Sure. JotForm is very clunky, I will say, to use, but it's something that had been in place here in the rescue for a while. So we inherited JotForm, we inherited MailChimp, and a few other systems, and none of them really spoke to each other. So you'd have to log into one system to do one thing, go into another to update from there, and it just wasn't seamless for us. So when we decided we wanted to switch to Zeffy, all we had to do was export our contacts and we dragged it over and we didn't upload. It probably took, I don't know, 5 minutes, 7 minutes, if that, to get our columns and build our lists. So that was very seamless on that end. But we explored the email tool, and I quickly saw that we could use this for scheduling emails, not just newsletters, but really making it our communication tool and how we were going to talk to everybody, whether we were talking to volunteers, our adopters, our potential adopters. We needed one voice, and we decided that we were going to make the Zeffy email tool that voice of Midwest Labs, obviously in conjunction with any of our social media that we were using as well.
Great. Yeah, love that. And thank you so much for sharing. Yeah, with that, let's dive in to your all the wonderful emails that you're sending from Zeffy. I'm going to hand it over to you, Vicki, to share your screen and walk folks through the first email, which is the update email. But before you take over, anything you want to add around the purpose of this email? And the timing of it, the kind of idea behind this update email?
Sure. So we're being a breed specific rescue. We operate a little differently than an all breed rescue might. My previous experience at all breed, when dogs were available for adoption, when their vetting was completed, they would just go up on like Pet Finder or on the website, and people would apply live. What we do is we have like a scheduled day for each dog. So they kind of, get to the spotlight all to themselves. So, when Willow in this example was cleared for adoption, she's decompressed. We decide, okay, she's going to get posted tomorrow at 9 a.m. I'll note all of our posts always go out for adoption at 9 a.m. Never changes. Unless there's like a weird technical glitch and something happens and it goes out a few minutes late, everything is always right at 9. So this email goes out to all our approved adopters. And at the same time, we have timed social posts. So our Facebook and our Instagram, they're also sharing, hey, Willow is available for adoption. We give like a snippet of her bio, and then we'll drive them to their email and we'll say, hey, approved adopters, check your email. So people get used to that cadence that we have with sharing the emails. In fact, we get most of our responses within 30 minutes of sending that email, which is pretty amazing because they're watching for it. So it may not go out every day. There might be a day that we skip. We don't have a dog, but it is very consistent that we're sharing that email. So that's how we kind of promote our dogs, and it's been pretty effective for us in doing it that way. Even if it's a litter of puppies, that litter would go up all in that one day, and we would share from there.
Yeah. Yeah, love that consistency of the 9 a.m. send, and your supporters know to look out for that. Let's actually take a look at the email and what are some of the elements of that?
Okay. So here's the email. Is this showing okay, Julia?
Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you. So this is the email that we've crafted. So a couple things I want to point out. We talked about that consistency at the 9 a.m. Our emails are also very consistent. So at the top, we always have our logo. We always have our tagline, we give labs a second chance. That is at the top of every single update email that goes out. Then we say, Willow is available for adoption. We always have a photo, a large photo at the top. So these never change. We pretty much sub in and sub out based on the dog, but this is our template for the update. Then we go ahead and we introduce Willow. We get a little background on her. We let them know what she likes, some of her quirks. We'll also give her statistics, her age, sex, color, weight, things of that nature are on here. Again, this format is very consistent. And then we'll share 2 more pictures. You'll notice the sizing, just for visual effects, you want to make sure that your pictures are always the same size. So you are able to edit that in the Zeffy tool and make them the same size, whether you go, 400 by 400 or 200 by 200. I think that's really important visually, so it looks good in the email. And then we have a call to action here. So this block, please reply to the email to let us know that you want to meet Willow. So for us, this is the only way that adopters can communicate that they are interested in meeting Willow. People comment on social media and they may say that, hey, I want to meet her. And that comes back to that, hey, approved adopters, please check your email. So we have the email set up to come right back to our placement coordinator, who will then manage the interested parties and setting up the meet and greet with Willow and her foster mom. But we do reaffirm that. And then we reaffirm it again because sometimes, people may not read clearly, or they just, get excited that they've been waiting for Willow. So we give further instructions. Here's what to do. You must be ready to take her within so much time. And this stays pretty standard on every adoption email because our process does not change. And then we let them know what to expect, key reminders, and then, we thank them for the email. And then at the end of the email, I'll note this is always the same as well. Like our social buttons, our PO box, this never fluctuates. So once you build a template like this for the update, you can really come in and just change very easily the pieces you want to change. And that will help you build your brand consistency. I do also want to share the statistics that we have for Willow. So this was her email that went out. So it went to 562 approved adopters, 79% opened it. I will say that's pretty consistent across our update emails for adoption. We get a pretty good success ratio there. And then again, most of these emails are being responded to placement within that first 30 minutes. We know if a lot of people are interested in Willow, or, placement might say, hey, we haven't gotten any emails. It's already like 10 o'clock. Like, I'm kind of worried. Because there might be a weird straggler, but 99%, everybody's looking for that email and they're responding back to it right away.
Nice. A couple questions here, Vicki. The first is from Ingrid. What platform are you using for your foster or adoption contract?
Sure. We use PetStablished, actually. So that is kind of our database for all of our animals. So all the dogs and their information, their medical is in there. And they have a contract in there that we can send out, and then it's linked to that dog.
Great. And from Hannah here, are you sending the emails at 9 a.m. or is each dog posted for adoption at 9 a.m.? Are you posting the dogs on Zeffy? And do you find that some approved adopters do not enjoy getting the consistent emails?
We schedule the emails. So, which is a great thing about Zeffy is you can schedule the email to go out whenever you would like it to go out. So you don't have to be available right at 9 a.m. to send it. But yes, that is when they are technically available for adoption, is at that time. So the email will go out at 9, and then all the social posts also alerting that they're available go out at the same time as well.
Great. And is this all done through Zeffy, or does it connect with another system application where your placement coordinator works out of?
No, this is all through Zeffy. It's really nice because you have an option when you set up any email in Zeffy who the reply to email goes to. So I may be the person that's creating this email, or somebody in marketing is creating it. Anybody can really jump in, but they say, I want placement to get all the responses. So if they just reply to that email, it automatically goes to that email that you designate. And then in terms of feedback, we have not gotten any negative feedback. Once in a while, we get an unsubscribe, but really not on the adoption emails, unless it's somebody who's adopted. And then they're like, okay, we're good. We don't want to, keep receiving the emails about the available dogs.
Yeah, that was Ingrid had a follow-up question. Are you taking people off the email chain once they adopt?
No, in our rescue, adopters are approved for 2 years. So they will stay in our system as approved until that expires. And then we manually remove them from the list and move them. We've created a list called, so this would be for approved adopters. And then we have another list, previously approved. So we'll move them to that in case we wanted to do something with them. And some people may want to re-up and renew their approval status because various reasons.
Great. And yeah, I see a couple more questions coming in. Um, for the sake of time, I think we can go to the volunteer ask.
Okay.
And as you're going through that, we have a question from Gwen around when you design the email regarding Willow or for the volunteer ask, do you create it directly on Zeffy? So maybe you can show people the builder and how you duplicate your emails and build things out as well.
Oh, sure. So you want me to go here? I can go back. So one thing that I find the easiest if I'm the one creating the emails in Zeffy is to just come in and duplicate one that was sent. So like Maylee went out for adoption, and you can click these three dots over here and I can duplicate. I'm all for efficiency. We don't need to rebuild every single time. And I find it's easier. In fact, even when I create other emails, I'll just start with kind of the template and then I just change my pictures around. So you can see here, everything's kind of built in. What's changeable, I could just, if I wanted to change the picture, I click on the picture and I would hit replace. And then it's going to pull up. And then, these are dogs that we have already used, but I could easily come in here and click, oh, I want to upload. And then it would let me pick what I wanted to choose as that photo. So that's very simple to do there. Same with changing the bio. I would just click in the block and I can delete all this. So I know what I do and what my foster coordinator does is we will use AI to help make the bios, cute and sprucey, and get all the little pictures. So we'll start typing it up, and then we'll use AI tool to like help complete the bio, and then we just paste it in.
Yeah, great. And so you duplicate your templates that
Mhm.
you love and look good, but before you had those templates, did you create the template in Zeffy? Um,
Oh,
yeah,
yes, yes. So let me go back. So if you want to create a template, you would just go new email. And then what you can either do is Zeffy has these templates here. So you can either use an email you already have built out, or you could just, look at your past emails, and that would also let you duplicate. Or you could also just, come up here and create a new one, or you could click here and just use plain text, which is kind of the same as here. And then this is where you have to really add your blocks and use the plus sign and what do I want to do, add an image, columns, and things of that nature from here. And then you can save it as a template, or you could just continue through as an email and then duplicate. So it's almost the same. I guess it depends just which way you want to click, but you get the same results.
Great. Yeah. Thank you. And in the next couple of weeks, I can share we will be rolling out a solution to make it easier to build emails from scratch, as I know that process can sometimes be time consuming. So stay tuned for that on the Zeffy front. I do see more questions coming in, but we will address them in the next round. I want to make sure we get through the volunteer ask.
Sure. So another list that we have created within Zeffy is for our volunteers. And we have a couple groups of volunteers. We have just general volunteers, and then we have event volunteers, and then we have transport volunteers. So for us, as dogs come in from all over, we need people to come meet these transports. Because most times, I would say 90% of the time, they don't come all the way to the foster home. So we need to meet them maybe it's 20 minutes away, maybe it's an hour away. So we have volunteers that, they want to do that. They want to pick up those dogs and bring them right to their foster. And this is actually, if you're not used to using the emails, this is the low risk way to try it, because it's just an internal email, right? There's no judgment. It's a great way to get started. And again, you want to keep your brand consistency the same. I see no reason to reinvent the wheel every single time with what you're doing. So we have our logo or tagline. Obviously now the header is different because now we need transport help. So this will change. Sometimes, she wrote, my transport coordinator wrote this, 2 sweet sisters headed to MLRR on Saturday. Sometimes it says, hey, transport help is needed. If we don't get somebody, we might send it out 2 days later and say, we really, really need help still. But kind of same format. We'll have the picture of the dog. So there's 2 dogs. And this often in transport, it's not just one dog. Depending how many dogs are coming in, there could be anywhere from 1 to 5 dogs that are coming in on a particular day. We give the details of what's needed. So this never changes. We introduce the dog so people kind of know who they're getting, how big the dog is, what time the pickup is needed, where they need to go, and where the foster home is at. So we share these details, and then we ask them to, again, reply to the email, but tell us which dog you can help with, what's your cell phone, your email, and what's your vehicle. And we need that information for the transport. So we try to get it all in one email. This email, people will respond at various times because this is not an email that's sent out at a scheduled time. It's really as help is needed. But I'm not as worried about the timing because this is an internal ask that goes out to our volunteers. And then we have our social buttons and our address here on the bottom. And then I can share here, these are our open rates. So we have 123 people in our transport team. We have nowhere near that number of people that are helping with transport all the time, but these people want to be part of this group. But you can see we had a 63% open rate from our volunteers that responded to this email.
Wonderful. And question here, for building your list. So you have your volunteer list, and then you have your adopters. For each one of those lists, can you speak a little bit to how you built those lists up? How did you get those initial contacts in your email database, and how do you continue to grow that?
Sure. So we exported these out of JotForm. So all I had to do was take an Excel sheet, and you would have a column for each field. So first name, last name, email address. Sometimes we'd put their city, state. Not really pertinent for what we're doing in Zeffy to have the full address. And then we'd have the last field, it would be called list. And that's going to be the list that it's going to be created into. So we would put the list name as approved adopter or transport volunteer. So we would have that, and then you could import right into Zeffy from there. It's pretty easy. You can just drag it over, and if there's any errors, it will tell you. In fact, it's just, if anybody hasn't done it, you can manually add people as well, which is what we do now is we update. So if we get like a approved adopter, we will just come in here and add their name, and then you click add them to a list, and then you can start typing and you can see like who we have, and we can tie them to whatever list we want them on and save that way. But if I want to import, I would just hit the import button, import a file, you hit next, and then they give you, there's a template. But really the template's pretty much the same. It's just naming the columns. That's, if anybody's done an import to Excel for any program, you just always want one field per column. That's the most important thing. So you just hit next, and then you drag it over here, and it's going to take you through. Super easy to do that. And how we got the contacts, I'm sorry, that part of the question. So these were contacts. This is everybody that has donated to us, who has applied to adopt, anybody who's been approved to adopt. We obviously try to remove people that are denied. They really don't want our emails if we've decided that we're not going to adopt to them. So we usually code them, or we didn't include them on the import as well. And then now that we've changed, every person that applies, they get moved into Zeffy as well that way. So if they apply to volunteer or they apply to adopt, they come into Zeffy. And then if they donate, so any of our campaigns that they've donated on or they've bought tickets, they automatically end in Zeffy as well as a contact.
Yeah, it's a thanks for calling that out. I think that's one of the main benefits of having your fundraising platform and your email platform connected. I think I saw a question earlier. Yeah, whenever someone donates on a Zeffy form, purchases a ticket on a Zeffy form, they're automatically added to your Zeffy CRM or donor management system. And from there, you can email them. So you're building your list automatically with the more fundraising efforts that you do. And we do also offer a free feature to capture email addresses on your website. So that's another way you can continue to build your supporter list. And I just wanted to call out, I saw something in the chat here. Can you speak to the cost value of using Zeffy? So all of Zeffy's features are 100% free. The email, the CRM, the donor management, there is never a cost associated with using them. In the donor management CRM, you get up to 1 million contacts available in there, and the emails you get up to 600,000 sends a month. So lots of room to play around, and unlike other platforms where you are charged often on a recipient basis or by how many emails you send out.
Yeah, that's actually been a big thing for us. I mean, our adoption fees, we keep every penny of that comes to us, regardless of how they pay. So that it's, as you can see on the left, how much money we've saved using Zeffy so far this year. It's substantial.
Great. And I do see a bunch of questions. We're going to have some time at the end to get through all of them. I want to move on to the event email because I think a handful of people said they needed to send an event email this week or next week. So yeah, Vicki, if you could let us know how you're using Zeffy for this, we can
Sure.
dive in.
So we did just in May, we had our first 5K. We've never done one before, so it was kind of a learning experience for all of us. But Zeffy made it very easy to manage the event within the platform in terms of promoting it, reaching our base, selling the tickets, for the runners, selling the tickets for the sponsors. All of that was managed in Zeffy, as well as even the check-in process on race day. That was really, really helpful for us. So here's the initial email that we sent out, letting everybody know that we were having our first 5K. And you'll notice again, I talked about the consistency, logo at the top with our tagline, a photo. This was a photo we were using for the race. So we had this consistent across every email that we sent for the race, whether it was for sponsors or for potential runners. This was the photo we were using. So we introduced it, the 5K, we gave all of the details here. As we do in all of our other messages, we wrote it first and then we dropped it into an AI tool to help us kind of, make it more fun and change the tone and everything. So that's here. We thanked our presenting sponsor. This is hyperlinks. So you can embed the link. So somebody's like, who's wet nose? You could click on it and it would take you right to their website. We give all the details of the event. And then we're also promoting the tickets. How much does the ticket cost? What's the early bird registration? We talk about sponsoring. We did change this format a little bit as we went on. But this was the initial email. We said, hey, reach out to our treasurer. She can talk to you about sponsorship packages. And then we had a link to register. So this link was tied to a campaign. So now at the same time, I went to campaigns and I built the ticket prices. So I would put in what information I wanted to know, their name, their email address. I wanted their address. And then we also asked for shirt sizes since we were giving shirts to every runner. So we put that in the registration link. And then what you can do is you can add a button in Zeffy and you can make the button a link. So the link is automatically either to a website or to a campaign. So we linked it to the campaign selling the tickets. So people could just click the button and they would go right in and be able to buy the tickets. And then we had our logo. This was the logo we used on our shirts down here at the bottom. And then again, our social and our address. So this went out to everybody in our Zeffy database, 5,037 recipients. So regardless of status, this is one of those where if they've ever donated to us, they've volunteered, they've applied to adopt, this hit everybody in our network. And we got a 56% open rate. So not bad. For sending our first event, we were kind of nervous. We didn't know how this might go out from here.
Yeah, Vicki, quick question. Can you click on the register button in the email so people can see?
Will it work from this bucket page?
It should, yes.
I think because it's in like, hold on. We can go to I can show you through the campaign.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Past campaigns. So here was our laps on the run. So we ended up having 127 guests that signed up to run. We raised $4,435. People gave additional donations on top of it. So we always leave that option in any event that we do and let people, if they want to give, they can give. And that came from here. And then if you wanted to see the campaign, sorry. This was the campaign. So I added that logo we designed for the shirts. We put the location. It's obviously we closed it because we had to close it once the event ended. Um, and then you could see the registration we had here, the amount. It does let you in the campaign go ahead and offer like early bird discounts, or put limits on things or add discount codes. So we had all of that built into here as well.
Nice. And in the email, were there different links for donors and sponsors and participants? How did they all come together?
So we had different emails. So we did one big email, and then we also did like another campaign for sponsors. So you can see here's our sponsorships. So here we offered, we had 15 sponsors and we had different levels. So we did a bunch of research to decide what we would charge and what people would get for each level. And then we built it in Zeffy. So you can kind of see, we would put like all the details, what you would get. So here, this was like our top sponsor. So we had to limit how many, but this is what we offered to them. So we created a different email for sponsors, and then we had a different registration link for them. Um, and so as we were out talking to people and networking, we would be able to share this link to get sponsors to sign up. They didn't have to come and email and manually track everything. Everything was tracked in Zeffy. And then I could easily go back to my dashboard and view all the guests for that campaign. And I could email all the guests. So if I wanted to come back in here and I want to email all my sponsors at one time, I can do it right from here, from the campaign.
Great. Let's move on to the urgent fundraising ask, the last email before we get through some of the Q&A here.
Sure. So this is Merlin. So this was a medical case that we took in. Merlin needed TPLO surgery, which is very expensive. He was in a shelter, and he needed to come up to us and get the surgery and recover. So we were looking at over $7,000 for this surgery. So what we did is we took our stock template, right, with our logo, again, brand consistency at the top. We have our photo. We look for something, that looks sweet and, kind of pulls on the heartstrings a little bit. And we came up with a second chance for Merlin came at a cost. Can you help us? And we told his story. And I think the most important thing when you're fundraising for, for a specific dog or a medical fundraiser like this, you really need to be specific. And I would say even for like a Giving Tuesday or your end of the year type of donations, you really need a story. You need to give people a reason, not just, hey, we're saving dogs and come help us keep doing it. You got to get them vested. So we gave the whole background on Merlin. He had a great story, and that's a big part of why people wanted to help him. But we talked about what happened, how many families he just kept being given up, like repeatedly. He ends up in the shelter. And then we talk about how he got here, what was wrong, and what he needed. And then we say, hey, he's doing great, right? So we got to tie up the story. He's safely recovering. Everything went well, but it cost us $6,941. So very specific number. That was the actual number that we paid. And because you have to give people a goal, you don't want to just ask for something and be ambiguous and, oh, we just need more money, and be specific, give them the story. Will you help us, today? And then we followed up with photos. And I think this is really important, showing, the surgery, site, him recovering, and then here when he's clearly doing a little better. So they are vested in the whole thing. I think that's the most important thing. So this email went out. Um, Obviously, this isn't a timed email because you're not sending these often. And I would say if you're sending this email every week, you're probably not going to get the donations because it's too much, right? You need to kind of pick and choose when you're asking, and then people are more apt to give. So we had a donation button here. So I linked this to our campaign, and we did have a campaign set up for Merlin. I'll show you the campaign. So we set this up with Zeffy, and we gave a little more details in Zeffy again. We let them know what we were looking for. Um, and we raised $7,000, so more than we needed in 20 hours. It was pretty amazing. And in fact, we put this, I would encourage you to always do this. If you have a goal or you're doing a specific amount that you need, let people see where you're at. I had the shelter was actually messaging me, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, you're up to this. You're up to this." She was so excited because she could just click the link to donate and see exactly where we were at. So by the time we put this up and the next morning I woke up and I was like, oh my gosh, we raised $819 more than we needed, which is pretty fantastic. So I would encourage that wholeheartedly. I can show you the open rates for our emails for this campaign in particular. Second. So we raised $7,819. That was our goal. Zeffy saved us $390.95. So pretty good showing for Merlin.
Yeah, that there's so many good nuggets in there around storytelling, email consistency, the thermometer, the great photos that you had. And was this part of the 9 a.m. cadence that you send out? It's a
No, that is
separate.
only for that update adoption email. So that time is never used for anything else ever. That's the
Mhm.
only time that the update comes out. So this came out like I think we did like a 7 o'clock or a 6 p.m. Type of timing with it at night. Because these are obviously they're not consistent because if you're asking consistently for fundraising, it's you people aren't going to donate as much. So I think there's part of that too. Like I wouldn't do a medical fundraiser today and then do one again next week. I
Mhm.
think that it's asking too much. So you either have to lump them together into one, two compelling cases, and here's what we spent for this dog, here's for this one. But I do think there's some timing issue to that. And I will say we also, as usual, the social posted at the same time with the same message.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a question from Brenda. So do you tie your campaigns and emails to Facebook, Instagram, etc.?
Yes, it's not the exact email. Like it's shorter, obviously, for more of a social media environment, but the message is the same and the timing is the same. And then it will give the link to the Zeffy campaign to give.
Great. And that that was not a recurring campaign because we have a question from Ingrid. What happens to the monthly donations when the campaign closes? That was a one-off donation campaign.
Yes, yes. We actually, it's I don't think this is closed. I think it's left open. I'm not sure how. I guess that's more of a Zeffy question. What would happen if someone set up to do monthly and the campaign closed? I think this we leave open. If it's an event, I think you have to close it.
Yes. Yes, that's correct. I'll do monthly.
But I guess if you wanted to do like some rescues do sponsor an animal this much a month you can give, and this goes towards this animal. You could have that type of campaign and just have it be ongoing and more geared towards a monthly or a recurring type of donor.
Yeah, we're just double checking the behavior on the monthly renewal question, and we'll let you know, Ingrid. But Vicki, amazing story, and congrats on your success and the strategy around adoptions and what you're doing with Zeffy. Anything else you want to add before we get to some Q&A on the Merlin story?
um I don't think so. I mean, I think it's just I think it's telling a story. I think that for Merlin, or any type of fundraising, you want to make sure that you're putting yourself in the buyer's seat, right? Instead of thinking, I need this and, what's going to help us, why do they want to give? What's in it for them to give? And so you have to offer them something that they want. And so, obviously we offered an emotional plea, to tug on their heartstrings. But that's any type of fundraising. What's in it for them? What's going to make them want to click that button?
Absolutely. And some people may have to drop friendly reminder to please fill out our feedback form to let us know how we did today. It helps us inform future content and logistics. Um, Nice to see a few people saying this has been really helpful. So, Vicki, thank you. We do have some time for some questions, so I want to uh, get to some open Q&A here.
Okay. Should I stop sharing or should I leave it open?
You can stop sharing for, well, maybe leave it open because I think some folks wanted to review some of the things that you ran through. Let me
Okay.
see. So, question from Hannah: is your list of approved adopters recipients saved in Zeffy or fed to Zeffy from the rescue platform you use? Do you need to maintain the list in two places?
We manually maintain the list. You are able to do like an EDI connection via Zapier, but we do not have an IT volunteer who knows Zapier to do the connection, so we maintain it manually. So it's not too bad. We have a list of when approvals are expiring from our other system, Pet Established, and then we just come in here and we flip them. It's probably a few minutes a month that we go in and do that.
Got it. And yeah, okay, perfect. And yes, Zapier is is what Vicki mentioned. It's a platform to connect two systems in a simple way. And yeah, from Heather here, she currently uses Constant Contact. How does Zeffy compare? I know, Vicki, I don't believe you've used Constant Contact, but maybe you can speak to the ease of use of Zeffy, the professional looking emails. She finds phone service for Constant Contact is extremely good. But in your experience, how is the ease of use and professionalism of the Zeffy emails?
I think it's super easy. I really like it. One feature we didn't really talk about it is being able to send that test email to yourself, which I pretty much do whenever I'm doing something new. Like I did the event email or something like that. I would send it to myself and send it to a couple other people to be like, how does this look? Do you want any changes? So it kind of takes away the scariness of sending something out and not knowing what it's going to look like. But I would say it's very simple. It's I figured this out. I didn't take any training on it. I just kind of came in and started playing around and clicking, and I was like, oh, that does that, and this is how that works, and it it is great. I don't see us ever leaving this platform for it.
Great. And yeah, thank you for saying that. And from Brenda here, how many lists are too many lists? Was thinking of having a list for each past board, cat volunteers, dog volunteers, event volunteers, etc., but probably would not do a year list for cats, dogs, or events.
I think you can have, I mean, we haven't gotten stopped. You can have several, and you can modify them and change it, and you can easily add, if you're on tax, and then you have, if you want to like add a manual list, or you want to export from here, all of this is pretty easy. Like, so right now we have, this is kind of like our list. And some of these are like once you update. So if you do like an upload, it's going to have a list of like, oh, June 23rd, updated contacts in here. So you have manual lists that you were created, ones that are created automatically from like a Zeffy campaign. But we have a whole bunch and we don't have any issue with any of these. So we came in like we had, so we have like this out of area one. So we get a lot of people that apply to adopt that are, not close, right? They are more than 2 hours away from us, and we have more than enough people within our area. So we created a list of them because we may want them when we have like a more difficult adoption or a more difficult dog to place. So, and we had this recently, we had two dogs like that. And so we exported this list from our Pet Established account, and then we put them in here, and we were able to craft an email just for them, seeing if they might be interested, in these dogs that we were having difficulty adopting.
Got it. Makes sense. And are volunteer time slots and signups maintained on um, on another platform like Sign Up Genius, for example? Or do you create the volunteer opportunities on Zeffy and people can sign up that way? Do volunteers have individual accounts, profiles where they can see their active signups, etc.?
Yeah, we don't use this often, to be honest with you. We did use it for volunteers for the 5K. We got like one person who responded to it out of our volunteers. So what we do is we have on our website, we have a volunteer application, like a foster application, and we link it from our Pet Established system. So we created an application in Pet Established, which is our database for our dogs, and that's linked to our website.
Yeah, makes sense. And I believe there is a support article here I can share with more information on using Zeffy, um, creating volunteer opportunities and receiving volunteer registrations using Zeffy.
Mm-hmm.
I can share. Great. Just tackling the last of these here. What is your website?
MLRR.org.
Ah, perfect. Yeah, beautiful, beautiful website.
Thank you. That's not my doing.
Yeah, great. And I believe that those are all the questions we have for today. Thank you so much, Vicki, for your time. This was great. Hopefully, it was helpful for folks. As always, we'll send out the recording afterwards. And we appreciate all of you joining, Vicki, especially you. So take
Thank you.
care and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you.